Let me know if the music is too loud. I'm still getting back into, whoa, this camera wants to zoom in and out. I'm still trying to get back into understanding what my settings are for these streams. I use live stream for this one, and then OBS Studio for After Dark. So I am just experimenting with stuff, and hopefully my mic's on, so that should be good. It's been a minute. It was a really crazy busy like post summer, I guess. And today I'm eating a salad because I'm healthy. It was a very busy post summer time for me, and it started out with Black Hat, which was just chaos in and of itself, and it was so exciting. It was such a good experience. To not only teach, to not only go, but then to teach at Black Hat. So that was really fun. And really, I guess I should make sure there's no comments over here. So that was a really cool experience. I think that I've been on like a million billion road shows recently. I'm just double checking to make sure this is going all right. Okay, cool. And so I've decided that I enjoy more of the community conferences, more like B-sides, and I definitely want to hit up DEF CON next year, and just the serious FOMO from not going to things like Wild West Hackin' Fest. It's just like the community stuff. That's where it's at. There's just so much more fun and so much more enjoyable, and the networking and the relationships you meet. Charlie's in the comments right now, and met him at B-Sides Greenville, which was such a fun experience because Jen and I got to talk and give a presentation there. So that's where it's at. And don't get me wrong, conferences are cool if your company is paying for them, or they're sending you, or you get to talk or something like that. But if you're really looking for like that really tight-knit group of people, which we definitely have in IT, in security, go to like a B-Sides, go find a B-Sides. So I did Black Hat in August, and that was busy. And then I spoke at TechNet Augusta, like nearly immediately after coming back from that. It was like I had a week break. Then I went to TechNet Augusta and spoke on AI and how it can be utilized in cyber warfare, both like offensive and defensive. And I'm really self-conscious right now about pepper in my teeth. So if you see me like trying to clean out my teeth, that's why, because this is going to be recorded and put on my YouTube channel and my LinkedIn. So it's a self like, I don't think that you cannot think about like having pepper in your teeth when you're eating on camera. So anyway, did TechNet Augusta. That was a lot of fun. Just it's fun more so because I knew a lot of people there, because I'm from, I'm local to Augusta. Don't worry about the pepper things. TechNet is just because you know people in your area, and even though it was a more like corporate-y conference, I guess I need to stop waving my hands because it's gonna make the camera go blurry. It was just fun to see people and see some faces that you hadn't seen in a while. Can you get a rough summary about AI used offensively and defensively? Yeah, so I know that I believe there was a recording somewhere. I will have to look and see if I can find. It was for the TechNet AFCEA, or the AFCEA Augusta local chapter. I know that they said that they had recorded it. Maybe I know that they said that. Maybe they recorded it. But in a nutshell, what I was talking about during this presentation was how AI can be used in both offensive and defensive, like on both sides in cyber warfare. So my master's degree thesis and study was actually over U.S. Army or DoD doctrine and how it relates to using cyber effects and cyber operations in a warfare environment. So I kind of played a little bit on understanding where we're at in, think about it this way. It's better to use an example. If you have a cybersecurity thing that happens or a cyber event that happens where you are somewhere in a nation state enacting a cyber operation to shut down a nuclear facility, for example, that will cause a kinetic response where maybe you're shutting down the nuclear facility and now they cannot get energy to the local population. That would be something that would be considered a cyber attack that has a kinetic response. So something that affects like our physical being. So shutting down power grids, blowing up. You could overload and completely DOS some of these infrastructures and really affect like people in the real world. Like imagine if the Chernobyl incident, which if you're not familiar was the explosion of a nuclear reactor in Ukraine. And imagine if that was caused by a cyber attack. Someone DOSed their system to overload too much power. That's why it's so important to understand OT and ICS security right now, which Mike Holcomb is like doing an amazing job at sharing that wealth of information. But so it can be things like that. And so what I talked about in this specific, very, very like Stuxnet type, but this is the reality. And it's very, very possible. It's kind of like Cold War right now with who's going to do it, because we can do it. We can do it. Who's going to do it first and who's going to piss who off. So talking at TechNet Augusta about the AI, specifically on the offensive side, it's helped actors, create more impactful payloads, develop them more quickly. So they're more destructive. There's more of them out there. It helps bridge the gap between you've got really high skilled hackers out there that have created, maybe Heartbleed or something like that. Well, now it's bringing the level of skill needed down to here where more people at this beginner level can now develop more intense, more effective offensive tools to use, malicious payloads to use in their attacks. And so there's more frequency in the offensive side. And also it has helped with malware resiliency. So AI basically understanding what it looks like when an EDR responds and says, you're alerting the system owner to a problem that's going on the system, and that malware is now adapting and adjusting to that and basically saying, oh, well, I got caught this way, I'm going to go this way. So using that language model kind of mindset of learning based on data. So that's the offensive side. And then the defensive side is nearly identical, but just mirrored, where it brings the skill level up to be able to have more analysts. It bridges the skills gaps between, maybe high school, college age people coming out of these schools and are now able to act in a fashion that looks like a more seasoned analyst and a more seasoned incident responder, because we have tools that help bridge those gaps, not only in understanding the capabilities of a system, but in training. Things have gotten much better in terms of explaining things in layman's terms. So not everything is so technical and difficult to understand right out the gate. And then also I reviewed a case study on the blue team side where there was actually a company, I think it was, oh golly, maybe it was Darktrace. I think it was Darktrace, who has an AI capability that helps respond to certain security incidents. And basically, what had happened was an incident happened on a retail company. An incident occurred against a retail company, I should say, where the AI infused security software was able to detect it very, very quickly, and ended up saving them a lot of time, a lot of money, data, because they were alerted to it incredibly fast compared to some of the other products that are maybe going to be more legacy now. So that was kind of the gist in a nutshell. And I had a lot of good feedback on that. A lot of people very interested. Of course, tech nets are typically more government and military focused. So you could understand why some people would be interested in that, because when we talk about cyber warfare, I mean, you would consider that something that a government would do or a military would do or something like that, versus your plumber down the road that's got a small sock in their basement. So that was TechNet Augusta, and I had a really great time, and I enjoyed that discussion as well. So then, after TechNet, I took a much needed break. I went and took my family on a trip. We had a really great time. Like a 2-week, just needed to decompress sort of thing, because I had been on road shows since like May. So just nonstop travel. But then of course we were like traveling on vacation. So that was, but it was enjoyable. And then I got back and I had some Google training. So that was busy. And then Jen and I went to B-Sides Greenville and talked about a really completely different topic, but still kind of the same. Basically using. Yeah, just to go back quickly on the AI topic really quick to, yeah, those are, I'm just going to pop these in here. So this is accurate. Yeah. Basically auto detections, learning, making things faster and more seamless. So yeah, all of that checks. Oh yeah. Yeah. So B-Sides Greenville was really great. Jen Funk and I went and we gave a talk on online safety for minors. And it wasn't just like a lot of times we talk about like online safety and we're like, oh, it's, make sure that you don't, share your social security number online. But like we really got into some very specific niche topics when it came to online security for minors. And some of the topics were very not easily digestible and easily palatable, talking about sexual exploitation of minors and how that's a huge problem, talking about some of the financial sextortion things that are going on. And there is a recording because we had a lot of people very interested in hearing that couldn't make it to B-Sides Greenville. So there is a recording for that on my LinkedIn and on Jen's as well. And I think they're both on both of our YouTubes. But yeah, it is such an under-discussed topic. We came at it from a technical perspective because we talked a lot about OSINT and how some of these things can actually happen. And what we realized is, even though we kindergartened down the technical side because we weren't trying to overload people with the technical, because the average parent, we were at B-Sides, so you're at a security conference, so that's a little different, but the average parent is not going to understand like what some of the really technical stuff is. Maybe they've literally never heard of OSINT. And so it was really great to get the feedback that we did from people that actually attended, because what we realized is that, yes, this topic is not talked about a lot. And when it is, there's a lot of fear mongering that goes on with it. Because when you think about it this way, if you take your phone from your kids because you think they're talking to someone online they're going to go over to their friend's house and they're going to talk to those people on their friends' phones. Or you're creating a gap between like the trust of you as the parent and them as the kid, where kids want boundaries. And it's respectful to give them some boundaries because they are human beings. But at the same time, how do you approach it from, you are a parent and a guide. And you need to be able to have some semblance of control of what goes on in your house without controlling your children, if that makes sense. So we didn't realize that it would have as good of a response as it did. And so it was great. It was a really, really great opportunity to go out there and kind of test the waters with something else and not do it in a fear-mongering way, but it is an educational way. And I think there is some need in technology to understand it's just like any other security vulnerability. What's the threat and what's actually been seen in the wild? It's the same thing when we talk about threat intelligence. It's what's the threat? How high is the risk? And then how high is the risk to your organization? That's a very technical way of looking at threat intelligence. And so it was the same process with coming up with this talk for B-Sides Greenville was what are the actual threats that are out there? We're not going to vanilla and sugarcoat. This is real stuff that's happening. And then what are your risks? Okay, well, you have kids in this age group playing Roblox, and Roblox is not a bad game. I've seen a lot of people that have organizations that focus on like childhood safety online, and they're like, Roblox is horrible. I'll never let my kid play Roblox. Roblox is not a bad game. It's not inherently a bad thing for a kid to do. It's actually very beneficial to allow your kids to have that creative space, especially in on a computer, because everything is technological nowadays. To have that space to, you can learn to code, you can learn to program, and people can create their own games and share them with their friends, and that's great. What are the things about Roblox specifically, or pick your social media or pick your other video game? What are the things that are problematic and concerning? And then how do you prevent them from accessing those things? Or they're a little bit older and they do have access to, social media, and they have a phone, maybe they're teenagers. How does a parent know how to talk to their kids about protecting themselves? Because those kids are going to go off to college, and if you completely cut them off from the world and you helicopter them, they're just going to do whatever in college, and maybe they make those mistakes out of college where they're not under your home where you can have some sort of protection over them. So it was a really great conversation, and Jen and I have had a lot of talks about where to take it next and what to do with it. So maybe there's other opportunities there. And then yes, the hurricane apocalypse. We got wrecked in Augusta. We being my family, we were okay. We had some minor home damage, but it wasn't anything crazy. It was non-life threatening. We have some trees, had some trees in our backyard that are down, like really big, tall trees, which is so sad because I love just like when nature is preserved because there's so much like land development and stuff nowadays, and we've got cities and skyscrapers and stuff. I love it when a place seems like it's untouched. In our neighborhood in Augusta, if you've ever been to Augusta, it's very tall pine trees. Everything's very green. It is beautiful, and had a lot of really, like, we think a tornado went through just down from our house a little ways because there's just like hundreds of pine trees just knocked over. And so that was really difficult. So we were without power for a while, without internet. We actually left our home for a little while and ended up going and staying somewhere else because our home just really wasn't inhabitable, because it was like we have kids and we had no power and it was boring, and they're like, when can we turn on Bluey? And I'm like, the power is out, I'm sorry. And so there was that. And then on our way back, literally on our way back to our home, Milton starts coming in. So it was like the worst 2 weeks of the year because it was complete uncertainty. So if anybody went through Helene or Milton, or are still going through some of the repercussions of having repercussions, it's not like you chose to have the hurricane. Any of the after effects of the hurricane, like, I feel for you. We're going through the same thing. So this is a good point. There are things out there. There's a dark world, and doing bone apple teeth. Thanks. So going back to some of the like online safety stuff, there are a lot of things out there that people have access to that are designed in a way that is not supposed to be friendly, but that looks friendly. And you're right. Roblox is completely like unfiltered. It's you get like free reign. And I think I grew up in the 90s and the 2000s, in the early 2000s, and we had tethered access to all things on the internet. And if you are in your 30s or 40s, you understand what I'm talking about, like the number of inappropriate things that we could just like go do on the internet. And it was all just completely like, our parents didn't really know about the internet. And so they didn't know what stuff was out there. So they didn't know what to prevent us from doing. And I read an article a couple of months ago, maybe last year, that was talking about how millennials, we almost have like this, what is it called when you play video games and it's desensitization. So like, and I say video games because they always talk about Call of Duty, like desensitizing like soldiers, like military soldiers to, go off and do war and stuff. But millennials basically are desensitized to some of the stuff that's on the internet because we just had so much access to it growing up. I mean, there were no filters. There were no firewalls. There was no, there were age vetting things, but there wasn't like a way that you could keep someone from saying that they were born in the 80s when they weren't, when they were 12. And so I think that there's a lot of things that have changed. However, we still have some big issues to make headway with. And so I guess that's why it was so good to have this talk at B-Sides, because there's a lot of stuff that Jen and I don't know either. And doing research, we realized that there are not many people doing research like this. There are not many. I mean, we are both parents. And so there's not a lot of parents out there like digging into, how and why some of these things are not so appropriate for kids, where it might look like something when it's not. And I know that one of the ways that people that I've talked to allow their kids to have access to these things like Minecraft, which was just brought up in the comments, is to have it come from like segregated, like on its own network. It's its own VPN, not VPN, virtual network. It does not have access. It's on-prem. It does not have access to like the external internet. And so, yeah, I'm uncovering a lot of really sketchy and shady stuff, which is unfortunate because it's some stuff that you might need a little bit more technical background to understand, only because like it's the way that networks are segmented, and it's not just like, hey, don't give your kids access to this thing. It's there are things out there that, you know, I wouldn't say you need access to, but especially since COVID, kids are all over the internet. And oh, by the way, haven't even gone into social media in this conversation just yet. And we talked about that at our talk at B-Sides. There are millennial moms out there putting their kids on their social media as a way of marketing their small business. Just putting them there because they get more views when they have their kids in their videos. I saw something that was on Reddit recently that like was very eye-opening, and it was someone that alleged to be like 17, 18, like right on the cusp of getting out of high school, that was a child of a camper influencer family. Which, if you don't know what that is, there's influencers for everything. You could have feet influencers, and that's on OnlyFans, but that's a different story. But you could have influencers for everything. And these people, they live out of a camper, or like a long, like you know, they don't have to be like tiny camper. Like they have like nice campers. And they basically were making their money, the parents were, off of sponsorships and affiliate marketing and things like that, because they were posting all of their family's livelihood and what they do on a daily basis, where they go in this camper. And it's like, you know, they're one of those like van life type families. And this kid, I don't know what prompted what the initial post was on Reddit. It was a comment in response to it, or a comment in response to some trickle down, was basically saying like, I hate that my family does this. I have no privacy in this camper to begin with, because we all live in this like tiny bit of square footage together. So this, you know, like right on the cusp of college is like this close to their siblings and their parents. No, by the way, their parents are like in their face with their camera, like, oh, look at what so-and-so's studying today. Look at what they're eating today. And it's like, how embarrassing as a human being. Like, let's not even talk, like, forget being a child or a minor. Like, how embarrassing as a human being to have something like waved in your face where it makes you uncomfortable, and you are showing that you're uncomfortable, because people don't just like, oh, okay, yeah, it's fine. Like I would get visibly uncomfortable if someone did that to me. And they were like, I hate it. Like, I just, blurry. They were like, I want to get out of college. I want to get out and go to college, but my parents don't have money for college. And now I'm remembering why this was on Reddit. It was because they were asking what scholarship opportunities or what options they had post high school, because their family did not have money to send them to college, but they were like, I gotta get out of this camper with my parents and my siblings. Like, this is crazy. So I mean, it like truly affects kids. That you've got these people that, like, the millennial thing is to be an influencer, and everybody's got everyone's personal information out on there, and their kids, and you're putting it online. I have like a small social group that I share pictures with, that's like my immediate family and some aunts and uncles and some very close friends of mine. But I don't do the social media thing. You won't see my kids on these live streams. You won't see, like, you know, you'll see my cats, but that's a different story. They're fine with it. But I'm not going to put my kids out there. And I've even had people like, oh, you know, bring your kids on, and, you know, like, whatever. And I'm just like, I'm going to keep my kids protected from their information and their faces and their situations that they're going through, away from online. If they want to do it when they're older, that's on them and that's their decision. It's not my decision. So yes. And thinking Facebook is a scrapbook. Oh my gosh. The number of, I've had to have conversations with family members who like to take hundreds of pictures on Christmas and then post them all. And it's 500 pictures of this Christmas album on their Facebook. And it's like, not everybody needs to see that. And you got like the blurry pictures and the horrible pictures. It's like, not everybody needs to see that. It's crazy. My cat's maiden name. I have 4 cats. One's name is Nugget. She's orange. So when she was little, she looked like a little chicken nugget. So I named her Nugget. I have a calico cat, and she's black. And, you know, if you don't know what a calico is, it's like black, white, and brown. Her name is Maisie. And her name is Maisie because I used to volunteer for a cat rescue organization out of Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. And they just would pick like of the litters of kittens that they would get or they would rescue. It was like a, you know, it was on theme. So they had like the bread theme, and one cat would be named Croissant, and the other would be named French bread, and the other one would be named like Roll or something like that. So Maisie was one of the like the Dr. Seuss kitties, and there's a Dr. Seuss book that's Maisie with the daisy on her head. And I just thought it fit her, it suited her. I have a cat named my husband's staring at me from the kitchen right now, looking at me like, oh my gosh, you're talking about your cats again, what a loser. I have a cat named Lilith, same concept. We adopted her from the organization. Her name was Lilith already, so it just stuck. I have a cat named Guinness, and he is a black and white cat. He's a tuxedo cat, and I always think of like Guinness beer as like having the white-ish foamy top and then the black beer, and so he was like a little Guinness. So I named him Guinness. We have 2 dogs too, so it's not that crazy of a cat household, but my husband says no more 4 cats. I did at one point have 9 cats in the house, and that was only because I was fostering them, not because they were all ours. But God, it was a madhouse in here. And contrary to popular belief, my house does not smell like pets. It's one of my ADHD fixations is cleaning the house and getting on just a rampant like tangent of cleaning. And so our house smells like pumpkin spice. It's pumpkin season. So yeah, on the side of cyber stuff still, I got business cards. Super excited about that. They are thick. There are some, I don't know, like it's blurry, but these dudes are thick. These are not easily breakable. These are not easily bent. And I'm expecting some stickers to come in tomorrow with just the Security Rex logo on them. Just a dinosaur. Because, I mean, I have some old ones that my husband made for me. But I figured it was time to get some official, like, waterproof, like, golly, this camera's like, wah! So, yeah, it's been a long time coming. I've been super slow to grow, but that's okay because I've just been busy doing other things, like doing live streams and things like that. And I'm also actually, I know I missed a few months, but I'm actually coming up on a year of having done this. I'm clearly at 9 and not 12, but I missed like 3 months there. So, yeah. My husband is definitely trying to make sure I don't turn into a crazy cat lady. But I do have tattoos, and you wouldn't notice if you ever met me because they're not in like places and like It's like not on my neck and like my arms and stuff. But I have at least 5 different cats tattooed on my body. So take that information for what it's worth. I think I'm on the cusp of crazy cat lady. I would love to do merch. I don't think anybody would buy it at this point. And that is only the doubt in me. I am my worst critic. Personally speaking, I am my worst my worst critic. And so that's why it's taken so long for me to buy business cards, buy stickers, invest in myself, because I just I don't know. I said it yesterday, you know, if anybody saw my little short whiny video post, like, it just feels like I am my own worst critic and I am the one that doubts myself the most. That's it. It has nothing to do with the outside world. I've always been the type of person to compare myself to myself yesterday. But it's just one of those personality traits that is overcomeable, and you just have to keep trudging through it. And that's what I'm doing. So I thought I'd get myself some stickers and I'd get myself some business cards so that I'm beginning to invest in myself. And that's a motivator for me. Oh shoot, did I throw it away? I think I threw it away. So what I am going to do right now, because you can see hello. So bad. I love this. It's a Razer Keo Pro. Maybe if I zoom back out and then zoom in, it might just have to be. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I make merch useful. I have had this idea for a while. Maybe I shouldn't share it because I don't want anybody to steal my ideas, but I've had an idea that I am starting to do, and that I am going to put out in the next couple of weeks or months, because Christmas time is coming up and things start to slow down. But having some stuff like that's actually useful and helpful, because I've needed it. And I've like made comments to myself when I'm in a pen test. I'm like, man, I could really use like this and just like a quick this thing or this thing. So I'm glad that you said that, because it means that I'm on the right track, I think. So right now, the stickers for Security Rex are just some slaps that I can hand out when I meet people at conferences and stuff. So I want to do some more community-based events next year, as the conference season is starting to slow down. It'll pick back up next year in the spring. And I just wanted to have some Security Rex stickers just to slap on stuff, because I want them for my computer. And everybody has like I've got, let's see, this is one of my computers. So that's one. My iPad is upstairs, but that thing is a smorgasbord. Both sides of it is just stickers. And I love stickers. I'm a sticker fanatic. When I go to a conference and I see an organization that I like go and get all of the stickers. And it feels so awkward because I'm like, I don't want to talk to you because I know what you do and I like what you do. I just want the sticker. So I wanted some Security Rex stickers, because like, what's cooler than having like a dinosaur that's like cybersecurity? I don't know. It's actually, the logo is one that I drew like 2 years ago, and it has just stuck with me, and that's the history of it. So it seems to have a good reputation so far. Necessity is the mother of invention, and I have felt so non-innovative lately. Do you ever feel like you want to do something like impactful or meaningful, but you don't know what that thing is? You just know you want to do something because you want to contribute, but you don't know what that actually looks like. And that's kind of the state I've been the past couple of months. It's just like, I want to make an impact and I want to do something, but I'm not feeling like my creative muscles are not churning right now. I have one kitty. She came to say hi. She's my most snuggly kitty. This is Nugget. She always wants to come and sit on my lap. And it's funny because I have a huge cat tree right here, which is like 5 feet tall. And so they all sleep right here when I'm right here, over here. They all sleep right there when I'm working. And so I have just like a cat Christmas tree. But yeah, I think it's just slow rolling, and that is okay. It's just like, it's okay when things go slow, but for people like me that like to see some results of stuff, it gets like a little like, I'm like on the edge of my seat. Like, is this ever going to end? Like, am I ever going to get like somewhere else? Because I'm stuck right here. And so, yeah, it's been like that for the past couple of months, and it's okay. The first step to admit is okay. It's okay. But it is kind of, I wouldn't say discouraging, because I don't feel discouraged. It's just exhausting, where it's like, and I'm sure and it's that way in careers. It's that way when you're learning a new skill, or you're like, I used to play the violin, and I used to play the saxophone, and I used to, I dabbled in sports. Wouldn't say I'm not athletic. I just really enjoyed doing soccer growing up. And when I moved to my high school that I inevitably graduated from, they didn't have a soccer program there. But it's like, when you get to a certain point, you're like, I'm very skilled at this thing, and I feel like I'm not going higher. And then you eventually do get over that hump. It's just, oh my gosh, it is a painful hump to get over. So, what else to talk about? Let me see. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I got a lot going on. I love cats. My husband just thinks that I'm the craziest. Yeah, so cutting out the sticker and then like taping it on, this is what kind of this original sticker was like. It's hard to tell in the camera, but it's got streaks like in the paint, or in the ink, because it was printed out on an inkjet printer. And what my husband did is he is much more creative than I am sometimes, which is so silly. We have a Cricut, and so he cut out the circle and then put so he printed out the sticker on our like home inkjet printer, which like was not like the fancy vinyl or whatever, and then ended up putting some waterproofing, like not a waterproofing, but a clear cover over it, so the ink wouldn't smear when it was put in the dishwasher. So that was the OG Security Rex stickers. I told him, I was like, I'm ordering stickers, and he's like, oh, you're replacing me now? I was like, no, you can come up with some other good ideas. He's got other good ideas for funny content and stuff to put online. So, because I'm going to take a bite. I want to, especially because I've decided to migrate a little bit over to short form content, I'd like to do stuff that's both entertaining and educational. And sometimes those don't fit in the same video, and that's fine. But there's a lot of really technical stuff out there, and a lot of really good technical walkthroughs, especially when you think of like going on Instagram and stuff, and you get like it's like a reel of someone's computer screen, and they're just like, what's going on here? It's just It's just that side of Instagram. But I want to do some like fun things too and enjoyable to bring people that aren't in tech interested, like bring them into the interest of tech. Like, I don't know what a pen tester is, but there's this really funny like reel about some girl not eating her weight rack at home and she's a pen tester. And so maybe it wasn't funny. I thought it was really funny. I'm very funny to myself. If anybody doesn't think I'm funny, that's fine. I make myself laugh, and so sometimes I just like see stuff that other people are doing, and I was like, that would be hilarious. I'm going to do that. And so I wanted to do some other entertaining things that doesn't just appeal to the tech community, but that can also bring people in that are outside of the tech community, and it spreads awareness about what cyber jobs are out there, what we do in these careers, and what are like possibilities if anybody's interested and looking for a career change, or maybe they don't know that their company could have a pen test against it and they want to be more secure or something. I don't know. It's just kind of the middle ground of being funny and interesting and entertaining, but also being educational. And speaking of educational, I've been like mulling over what other content I should put on Security Rex's website. As far as like any infographics, any things that are worth downloading, I guess. Because I put like infographics on LinkedIn, and that's just easy like stuff to put on social media. But like things that are valuable, like if there's a tool that you think is valuable to learn, or maybe there's like a gap in some like specific I don't know. I'm thinking like if you are nobody knows how to do recon, and like doing a short like cheat sheet on how to do recon and stuff. Like I've gotten stumped with some of the additional stuff. Some of the cheat sheets that I have on there are really good and valuable. They just are a little dated. Not in the sense that the information's dated, but I like made them a year ago. And so the information's still relevant because the nmap, for example, the in-map switches don't change, or they haven't changed. I haven't seen them change. The tools are typically written and left, for the most part, the way that they are. So if you guys have any ideas, I'd like to do some short courses and maybe some, one-on-one teaching of like, I don't know, I feel like we've gotten past the Active Directory and how difficult it is to hack the Active Directory. And maybe there's something else out there that is more important or interesting, or just people aren't talking about as much. I need to take a couple of TCM courses just to see what their Active Directory like teaching style is, because I don't want to fill a gap. I want to fill a gap that's not there. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. If someone's doing a great job at something, I want to be able to supplement those things. And my platform is not a training platform. It's resources and breaking down stuff in a way that's easily understood, even if you're coming outside of the tech industry. So that's what I want to do, because I think that's important, and that's super helpful for people that are not in tech, and also for small communities. It's like small businesses, smaller cities or organizations, things like that. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know, because I'd love to get y'all's feedback. And I know I ask this every so often, but it's always just good to hear what people need and not have to guess. I like crowdsourcing information because there's no point in everybody wasting our time on something that's not needed. So videos of how to do well-known exploits. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I should I started doing tooling more on YouTube, but maybe doing just exploits themselves is more relevant. Yeah. Great feedback. So videos of how certain well-known exploits work. And then email header analysis. Man, that's a loaded one because I haven't even done email header analysis in a long time, but I do remember it's just putting the pieces together. Because I remember doing like when you do HTTP packet analysis and you have to like look at the headers and things like that. It's completely different with emails. It's like you have so much more information and there's stuff that's signed and not signed like you would just normal traffic. So that would be very helpful with like teaching people how to avoid phishing campaigns. Thanks for those suggestions. That's really helpful. I think it's important for us to get more education about tech stuff to smaller communities because they just don't know. I mean, I grew up when I graduated high school. I graduated like in a class of 48 people, which for some of you might not seem that small, but I was right down the road from Houston, Texas, where all of those schools, they're like graduating like classes of 5,000 or, I don't know, that's a huge number, but class of 800 or something. And my measly 48 people in my class, I just slid by being in the top 10%, which I don't know if it's like this in other states, but to be in the top 10% of your graduating class in high school for Texas, it's a big deal. And also it gets you automatic admission into any state school. So I don't know if it's like that in other states, countries. I don't know what the admission standard is to university in other countries as well. But nobody, I couldn't list off of I couldn't fill up my hand with how many people I think in that city that I grew up in understand like half the stuff that I say now. I do know my grandma. She tunes into these live streams. She's like my number one fan and I love her. She's awesome. So if you are watching this, Grandma, I love you. And I'm not saying that you are not educated in tech. I'm just saying that our communities are like teeny tiny and we have no idea what we're doing. I always use a reference of like the plumber down the road that has like a multi-million-dollar business because I'm just holding this cup now. Like things like HVAC and plumbing and like blue collar work, they can be like very expensive, lucrative businesses. So you have all of those assets and all that like money in your bank, but you've got the mindset not of a New York City corporate person that's like hiring all these security teams to keep their data in check. You're from small town Texas, you're from small town wherever, and you think that your daughter got thrown in jail because it sounds like AI on the call has her voice and she's asking for you to send over your bank account information so she can get bailed out or something. It's like stuff like that. Nobody knows that stuff in small towns. So that's, I don't know, kind of something that I would like to try to figure out, dive into. Who knows? And I wonder if I see a lot of people online do like a lot of basic information safety and information security stuff. And that's relevant. I just don't see many people going into the more technical side of things. And maybe that's not actually relevant outside of our community, but it makes me wonder if there is a gap there. And if people understood how things happen, then they would maybe be more inclined to think more carefully the next time. Like, I had to give a quick little blip to a school and their staff once from a small town. that I had like contacts with, and they reached out and they were like, hey, can you just sit down and take like 10 minutes and explain to us how someone can like write a phishing email, because we just don't understand how this email looks like it came from Microsoft or Google, and it's not. And so I had to sit down and explain, like, Microsoft at gmail.com is not actually Microsoft, right? Like, look at who it's from, look at these things. If they're starting to, like, have a sense of urgency and telling you, like, we need this right now, and we need this expensive I cannot talk today, this extensive amount of money, or even just a small amount, but it's very, very urgent and we'll send it back to you. That's not Microsoft at gmail.com is not reaching out to you asking for that in a legitimate use, like in a legitimate way. And it was just funny, some of the questions, like the follow-on questions that I had, because they just didn't understand it. And after having the conversation, they're like, okay, like, we get it now. That makes sense. Because people aren't stupid. It's just nobody's out there explaining things to people. We're all in tech. And so we're all like big corporation and we're working for big corporations, or maybe we're working for smaller corporations, but that have influence on, the broader, more international stuff. And it's like everybody that's in these small communities doing these just jobs that are completely separated from technology. They don't get that. So yeah. Yeah, it's really bad, especially when it comes to people. I read an article a couple of months ago that someone had basically lost their entire retirement savings. And this person was like, 70, 80. Like, this was their savings. This was the only thing that was going to get them by until, like, their time had passed. And they lost like so much money in this like scam. They gave it all to whoever, some Nigerian prince, and then they were just basically ruined for the rest of their life. I think they were able to reacquire a small portion of it, but when you have a substantial amount of money saved up for retirement and you're no longer working and you're no longer able to work, losing all of that money can be like holistically detrimental to your entire life. So that was really heartbreaking. And just people don't know. People just don't understand. And yeah, just educating them more on the possibilities. And blurry again. Yeah, just like small things like Charlie said, like not broadcasting your SSIDs, and having good passwords. I actually had someone in finance that I was recently speaking with was explaining their sign up process for applying for a home loan or applying for a mortgage or applying for a bank loan. And they were explaining, and they were like, yeah, but a lot of people, they, when they do this, they treat their, their temporary application credentials as like, oh, it's just temporary. So when they put in their passwords, it's like Spider-Man is their password, and that's a very extreme case, because they have mechanisms in place where you have to create a strong password, but it's like, Spider-Man 1, 2, 3 exclamation point or something. That's technically considered by, like, in technology terms, a strong password based on the specific criteria that you're meeting: capital, lowercase, multiple letters, numbers, symbols, whatever. But they said that they were having a problem because people were reaching out and they're like, we can't log into our system because we don't know the password. And they're like, he's like, well, are you like using like strong passwords? And they're like, no, we entered, like, it was just a temporary thing. It was just temporary. So they treated it like it was temporary and completely like forgot like the password that they use. And they were just like treating it so like just, oh, it's just temporary. You know, like at any time you log into anything or anytime you use the computer or a device, you have to treat it like it's important to keep secure and to not share like your information with other people. Not, you know, because you might think it's a temporary password, but it's not actually a temporary. It's it's an account that goes and ports into a different account or something like that. And so he was explaining that, and I was like, oh no, I get it. Like, I'm in cybersecurity. Like, I understand what you're saying. And he's like, oh, so you completely like, I'm just, you know, I was like, I'm explaining this to you like I would any other person that was you know, I was having this conversation with. And I was like, no, I get it. It's difficult to educate people, and then some people, even though they know, they just don't want to break out of their own old ways. So I've got some salad left. So I'm going to go eat. I'm going to go finish eating because anytime I do Dino Nuggets, I never finish my food. So I've got to go finish eating. And then we will do this again next month. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. I was glad to talk to you, glad to catch up. Excited to see some familiar, I say faces, some familiar usernames. So anyway, catch you next time.